Aurangzeb, the Mughal emperor who ruled over almost the entire Indian subcontinent for close to half a century, has been glorified in NCERT Class 12 books, termed as the savior of Hindu temples. On page 234 of the history textbook, it is said that Aurangzeb and Shah Jahan issued grants to rebuild temples which were damaged during wars. But the claim was challenged in an RTI which was filed last year. In a reply to that RTI, which was given in November 2020, the NCERT has admitted that it doesn't have any proof, any source to back this claim that has not only been included in the history book, but has been taught to children for years. Now, there is a massive controversy with pressure being mounted on the NCERT and on the government to course correct. In fact, the Bharatiya Shikshan Mandal has apprised a parliamentary panel that historical figures and dates have been heavily distorted. Remember, this is not a new development. This has been an ongoing debate for over 2 decades now. Has history been told to us, and more importantly, taught to us through a certain ideological lens, and in doing that, have the tyrannies of some been whitewashed only for political ends and for appeasement?
देश के मुस्लिम समाज ने इन आक्रमणकारियों को अपने साथ जोड़ा। उनको ध्यान रखना चाहिए, उन्होंने मंदिर को तोड़ने के लिए युद्ध किए, युद्ध के दौरान नहीं टूटे और अपने आप को मूर्ति भंजक के रूप में कहना स्वीकार किया। मैं समझता हूं ये सब सत्य जब सामने आएंगे तो भारत के कोई भी समझदार मुस्लिम नेता या मुस्लिम समाज का व्यक्ति उन बर्बर आक्रमणकारियों के साथ अपने आप को नहीं जोड़ेगा, बल्कि धरती पुत्र के रूप में अपनी पहचान बनाए रखने की कोशिश करेगा।
ये हिस्टोरिकल फैक्ट है जो किताबें मैंने खुद पढ़ी हैं कि बहुत से मुग़लों ने और नवाबों ने, मुसलमानों ने मंदिरों की तामीर के लिए जागीरें दी हैं। और यहाँ पर लखनऊ में जो आर्कियोलॉजी से मुताल्लिक़ डिपार्टमेंट है उसमें वो फरमान भी मौजूद हैं। तो ये जो NCERT ने कहा है, जवाब दिया है, बिल्कुल गलत है और हिस्टोरिकल फैक्ट का डिस्टॉर्शन है। और ये उसी मेंटलिटी की तर्जुमानी कर रहा है जो मोदी सरकार की मेंटलिटी 2014 से चली आ रही है।
आज बहुत से डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं, फरमान हैं, निशान हैं और टाइप के डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं जिससे ये पता चलता है कि अकबर और जहांगीर और शाहजहां तो मंदिरों को ग्रांट देते आए थे, यहाँ तक के औरंगजेब ने भी बहुत से मंदिरों को ग्रांट्स दिए।
ये सब पुरानी बातें हैं, 500 साल पुराने पहले क्या हुआ था क्या नहीं हुआ था, उसको आज हम उखाड़ कर एक ऐसा मुद्दा हमें नहीं बनाना चाहिए कि हमारे बीच में, हिंदू मुसलमानों के बीच में खटास पैदा हो और फिर कोई सांप्रदायिक माहौल बिगाड़ने की कोशिश की जाए।
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining us on the debate, Professor Sangeet Ragi, Professor of Political Science at Delhi University, Sai Deepak, advocate, continues with us. We are joined by Zafar Sareshwala, former Chancellor at Maulana Azad National Urdu University, Professor Manojit Mandal, Professor at Jadavpur University. And my first question is to political analyst Vivek Srivastava. Is this not proof, Vivek Srivastava, that there was an effort to try and tell a selective and, may I say, distorted history with no primary source to back it, only in order to create a certain narrative?
No. I'll tell you something now. Now, there is a narrative about Babur. When Babur invaded India, they say that he came and it was a Hindu India and Islam came through Babur. It's wrong. When Babur came to India, we have Lodi Gardens in Delhi and he fought with the Lodi dynasty. He destroyed Ibrahim Lodi. And after he had destroyed Ibrahim Lodi, Lodi's brother Mahmud Lodi went and met Rana Sanga, the Rajput king. Both of them joined hands and tried to, counter Babur. Obviously, Rana Sanga lost the battle and Mahmud Ibrahim went to Eastern UP and kept on fighting Babur for years.
Mr. Srivastava, can we stick to the more, because our history is so many centuries old that if we were to try and debate every single invader, then we would be sitting here until the next century. So can you specify your position vis-a-vis the NCERT book saying that Aurangzeb rebuilt temples? On what basis was this written?
Yeah. Yes. Okay, now listen to me. Very clearly, the history that we read in school,
Yes.
Akbar definitely was a benevolent king. Coming to Aurangzeb, I do not know what NCRT has answered and how NCRT can refuse to say that they do not have proofs. Whenever NCRT, CBSE, anybody makes a curriculum, any book is written in this country, whether it is state boards or the national boards,
Yeah.
you know, expert committee sits, experts on the various subjects, mathematics, history, physics, science, and they are the ones who give the inputs.
Now
so I am
you're
sure
talking.
it is very easy
So
for
I
the
will
NCRT
tell you,
to
I
actually
will tell
trace
you
out
how this
who
has
were the experts
happened,
who gave the
possibly
input and
without
from what
proof.
sources.
Because
First
there
of
is a
all,
lovely book
yeah.
which I will reveal the name of at the end of this show, which I think every
No,
viewer
there
must
has
also
to be
read,
a proof.
which actually delves into how such history is written many a times without any source whatsoever. Let me quote from page 91 of this book. By contrast, the aggression, the butchery, the devastations committed by Islamic rulers are sanitized through a three-layered filter. First, the devastation is attributed to individuals and not to religion. Among individuals, it is made out that just a few individuals indulged in it. Third, that they committed aggression, destroyed temples, pulverized idols, not because of some religious belief, but because being rulers, they had to put down their opponents who happened to be Hindus. And this is reiterated again and again only
Absolutely.
through
What's wrong in it?
insinuation without fact.
Yes. What's wrong
And
in
that,
it?
sir,
What's wrong in
how
it?
history is
wrong in
written
it?
through conjecture.
It's right.
It's right, right?
Ashoka was a king. Yeah. Okay.
So
right. Now, Ashoka was a king.
basically, Professor
Ashoka
Sangeet
destroyed
Ragi,
Kalinga.
now
Will
the
you quote,
NCRT is
will you
telling
quote Ashoka
us
and Akranta,
that
the way they call him?
no, it's not a conjecture. It was a statement of fact in a book being taught to children over and over, had no primary source to back it.
No.
So somebody sat on that
Kings
committee
are
and
kings
said,
and kings don't have
let's
religion."
say it.
Padmaja.
Kings want expansion. They don't have
Padmaja,
religions.
Let me
Padmaja.
begin
You cannot
with the
attribute-
basic premise. Padmaja, can I speak?
Yes, go
sir?
on, please.
Padmaja, the basic. Let me start. Let me start with the basic premise that there is nothing like objective history. And this is the quotation not from Sangeet Ragi. This is the quotation from a great historian of India, Mr. Sarkar, who is a left historian.
Jadunath
But
Sarkar.
anyhow, the matter of fact is that Sitaram Goyal, Ram Swarup have written a lot about this, what happened to the Hindu temples. So several theories have been, propagated that the temples were destroyed for the sake of, because they happen to be they used to carry a lot of gold, wealth, and so and so. But we know that how distorted, hypothetical, consecutive all descriptions they are. They do not match any kind of substantial facts when you dig up the history and the sources. You know why it has happened. Let me begin with that after partition, our, the leaders thought that if the medieval history, which happened to be a chronicle of rape and plunder, destruction of Hindu temples, conversion by force of Hindus by the medieval rulers,
taken place all
Islamic
along
rulers,
and in
later
every era.
on by the Mughals.
Now, this is selectivism, Padmaja, I was talking about. This is selectivism.
If this is, please, I didn't disturb you, sir. If you haven't read, then please keep your mouth shut. So, if this is taught to the students in the classrooms,
you are selective. Professor Ragi, you are
Sir, please, no heckling. Let's try and have an educated debate. It's about education. Yes, go on. Finish your point.
Okay.
So, if the real history is taught to the students at the at the level of school or in the colleges, then there will be a conflict in the society. The Hindu-Muslim animosity will increase, and therefore, left historians particularly try to give an intellectual cover to all the Islamic vandalism. And in case of West Bengal, there was even a circular which was notified by the government of West Bengal during the CPM rule,
Yeah.
that these characters or this kind of devastations should not be taught to the school age students.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that is what I wanted to quote Professor Sanjeet Ragi from the book where Arun Shourie, and this is the book I was talking about, and I suggest everyone should read it. It's called Eminent Historians, Their Technology, Their Line and Their Fraud. And this book actually quotes from that circular, which, believe it or not, was put out by the government of West Bengal to schools. And it said that this circular of 1989, all West Bengal government recognized secondary school headmasters are being informed that in history textbooks recommended by this board for class 9, the following amendments to the chapter have been made. Now I want to tell you, Vivek Srivastav especially, what were the amendments, and then I will bring you in Sai Deepak. Page 141. Using force to destroy Hindu temples was an expression of aggression. Forcibly marrying Hindu women and converting them to Islam before marriage was another way to propagate the fundamentalism of the ulema. The circular says that these have to be removed entirely.
Talk about the plight of Dalits.
These have to be removed entirely. Sir, please don't heckle.
Exactly.
Go home and read
What
the book.
about the caste system?
Then
in
in
the
page
Hindus?
89,
People
the book
converted
said,
to- no,
please,
ma'am.
please reduce the
People-
audio.
no, just a-
I cannot be heckled. I'm trying to read out something from a book. Page 89 said, Sultan Mahmud looted valuables worth 2 crore dirham from the Somnath temple and used the shivling as a step leading up to the masjid in Ghazni. The circular says, delete and use the shivling and a step up to the masjid, delete that entire paragraph. Then page 112 says, Hindu-Muslim relations of the medieval ages constitute a very sensitive issue. The non-believers had to embrace Islam or death. All matter on page 112, 113 has to be deleted, said a government circular in 1989, Zafar Sareshwala. Can there be more proof that history was whitewashed to remove certain parts of tyranny?
In seconds, Padmaja. Just 10 seconds.
Just a second, please. Let Zafar Sareshwala come in.
Historian.
Yes.
Yeah. See, Padmaja, I am not an historian. I am a student like anybody else, and I have read books written by, Bhishamnath Pandey, who was who came from the Hindu right and who was also governor of Orissa. Then there are several authors, historians, both the sides. I mean, some who have usualized Mughals, then some who have written negative about it. But I think I would consider this only to be history. And if Aurangzeb or anybody, see, first of all, I am a proud Muslim, but I want to tell you, we Muslims in India are not at all remotely descendants of the Mughals. So I have no problem if something about Aurangzeb is coming up now, or about any other king. It has nothing to do with me. I think that it should be put in the realm of history, and it should not be made a communal thing. I think if that is there, then we have no problem.
It cannot be history if it is factually incorrect. History should be a statement of fact of what has actually happened in our country. This is made up.
Yeah,
Sai
I'm
Deepak.
saying, no.
Just a second, Sai Deepak also needs to come in. Yes.
Yeah, I'm saying that. I'm saying that if we now come to know.
I just have one or two points to make with respect to what Mr. Zafar Sareshwala has actually pointed out. We are being told that Indian Muslims should not consider themselves as defendants or defenders of the Mughals. Then the one simple question that needs to be asked is, what is his position with respect to Fatwa-e-Alamgiri, which is effectively what is followed by the bulk of Sunni Muslims in India, which is an interpretation of the Quran, and that sets out effectively the jurisprudence of Islam that is followed in this country. Shri Asaduddin Owaisi, in a public debate with me last year in March, specifically admitted that the bulk of Indian Muslims as well as bulk of Pakistani Muslims follow Fatwa-e-Alamgiri. So here's a clear instance where a Mughal ruler's interpretation of Quran happens to be the cornerstone of Islamic jurisprudence in both India and Pakistan, and we are being told that Indian Muslims are not defenders of Mughals. That's point number one. Point number two, Arun Shourie wrote a book specifically.
What Mr. Uwaisi
Please let me finish my point, sir. Let me finish my point, sir. Let me finish my point, sir. Let me finish my point. Arun Shourie specifically wrote a piece on. Let me just point out, please.
You are quoting a wrong thing.
Let me finish my point, please. Arun Shourie specifically wrote a piece in February 1989, identifying at least 9 specific mosques in different parts of the country,
Okay, just a
which have
second.
been built on the debris of Hindu temples, and not just that.
Okay, Sai Deepak, we have Mr. Zafar Sareshwala saying that you are misquoting one particular text. Since TV is neither the place nor the platform nor the time to have a detailed discussion on individual texts, I will tell you though, sir, that there are multiple Islamic historians from the 15th century onwards who have been quoted to talk about how there was desecration and loot. The ironic thing is, and because I need to get in everyone, Professor Manojit Mandal, that Indian historians are contradicting and whitewashing that even Islamic historians, the chronicler from the court of Aurangzeb is admitting that Somnath was desecrated. We had a temple in Kangra being desecrated and looted, people being converted. Islamic historians have said it.
So the Padmaja let us admit that Aurangzeb was certainly a very controversial ruler. I think we talked about Ghaznab Kausar. He was the first to identify as one of the traffic betrayers of during the time of Mughal rule. But that doesn't discount the fact that all the Mughal rulers are like that. I mean, go by the court. You were talking about the court narrative. I think the traffic court narratives in this case would be was written by Abul Fazl, Akbarnama and Din Ilani. I think these two are classic examples of how tolerant emperors they were. I mean, look at what Akbar used to do. Even a Jesuit priest used to visit Akbar court, and there are plenty of trouble literatures on this count written by even by the Christian missionaries in India, and they had a kind of inclusive vision. And even, I mean, I don't need to talk about Birbal. Who was Birbal? He was a drum mill guy. He completed Sanskrit Pandit. He was one of the Navadasis of Akbar. I mean, you had this kind of atmosphere till the beginning of 17th century, I would say. But yes, things could have changed after Aurangzeb. Nevertheless, Aurangzeb was definitely a very strong ruler.
Sir, he was a strong ruler, but do you admit that his history and his rule has been distorted? The way it has been told, and if yes, why? Who will account for it?
Let me tell you this. All histories are some of the other distorted narratives of fact.
No, sir.
As one of my
I am sorry.
Friends,
history has to be based on some source, based on some fact.
With whom I rarely agree. Sandeep Tyagi, he said that all histories are subjective narration of certain facts.
So, okay, Sai Deepak, now we are being told history is subjective. When you are in power, you interpret what the history was. So it's only fair then that now you have a BJP government. Let's have another set of historians take a fresh look at what history was.
History is not really telling the story.
Okay, I'm glad that you admit history can be subjective. So let there be another subjective view. Yes, go on.
History is subjective.
Yes,
now, how can it be a position that when the BJP tries to revise history and they actually place certain facts on record, we are being told it's a case of saffronization? And we must also ask this very simple question. What is the position of all these so-called geniuses with respect to Dr. Ambedkar's position on the treatment of Hindus and Hindu temples by Muslim rulers? Dr. Ambedkar has written that as part of his book, Pakistan and the Partition of India, where he specifically said that Islam's behavior as far as India is concerned has been particularly cruel. Ambedkar did not belong to the RSS. He was not of the BJP. He was certainly not of the Congress.
You know, so this is only, I really have to say, for a topic which is so complex and it has so many facets, we had very, very little time to discuss it. But the point is, this is not about any one community. It is about our country and how our history should be told. It should not be seen through an ideological or a political lens. It should be told in entirety, which is why, like I said at the beginning, I recommend to all our viewers, do go and read this book. It's called Eminent Historians, not written by the BJP, but someone who is the toast of most of my friends on the panel right now, Mr. Arun Shourie. See you tomorrow.